So hello guys, I'm Adrian Ang and in this video I'm a student.
Hi, I'm Francine Loakian, and in the video, I'm the teacher and the student.
Hello, I'm Raven Atupan and I'm a student in this video.
Hi, I'm Stephen Gintu and I'm a student in this video. And we're going to talk about the fourth industrial revolution.
Good afternoon, class.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon, Miss.
Today, we will be discussing about the fourth industrial revolution. So I will be presenting a video that will explain what it is about.
Adrian, bro, can I borrow a pen?
Oh, yes,
Please.
sure, bro. Here.
Right here. Okay. Thanks, bro.
We are wondering what is happening to the world. Everything is changing.
The very idea of human being some sort of natural concept is really going to change.
Our bodies will be so high-tech, we won't be able to really distinguish between what's natural and what's artificial.
Inside our own heads is the most complex arrangement of matter in the known universe.
You might ask yourself, can we get to be superhumans?
The original Industrial Revolution was driven by the discovery that you could use steam engines to do all kinds of interesting things.
But that was followed by additional revolutions for electricity and computers and communications technology. We're now in the early stages of the fourth industrial revolution, which is bringing together digital, physical, and biological systems.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
With the ability to visualize brain activity, for example, through a simple consumer-based EEG device, it gives us access to ourselves in ways that we've never before thought possible. It unlocks the black box that is the brain and enables us to really, truly be able to realize an identity that is aspirational.
There's now a scientific foundation for the effects of mindfulness on the brain, on the genome, on biological aging. And when the human mind does know itself, then you get the potential for a new renaissance that restructures itself in terms of our relationship to life, our relationship to the planet, our relationship to work.
We need a different economic model. And by that I don't mean capitalism versus communism. What I'm talking about is a shift in the system along the lines of the two big changes that happened in the 20th century, Keynesianism, with a much greater focus on health and education and the role of government working with business, and then a reaction against that in late century to neoliberalism, where the focus was on free markets, freedom of the individual, and getting governments out of the way. We need a shift to a new system that will allow us to meet the basic needs of every human on the planet, that will live within planetary means, that will be fairer, and that will be focused as its key goal, not on growth per se, but on maximizing human well-being. And history tells us that a values shift is triggered by creation of a new story about how we want to live.
I see the circular economy as something which fits very closely with mankind's goal to be innovative and creative and to always progress. We can use asset tracking, we can use IT, we can use 3D printing to enable this different economic model to recover materials, feed them back into the economy and really to decouple growth from the resource constraints we have.
The reason we live in cities is not different today than it was 10,000 years ago. Even if we have got networks connecting us, we still want to have places where we meet in person. So this means the place where we work and the place where we live are much closer to each other, a city where we don't need to have big supply chains in order to produce things, where many things can be sourced locally thanks to 3D printing and robotics. So if we're able to do something to transform cities, to make them more efficient, then the impact can be huge.
Think about the prospect of getting rid of plastics. We must not only be inspired or informed by nature, but actually use natural organisms with which to design products and building parts. Only instead of varying material properties, we're varying biological functionality.
Design is critical today because it's the first signal of human intention. So the question of adding quality to quantity, it isn't a matter of simply circulating things that are potentially toxic. It's circulating things that are safe and healthy for all generations. So the goal is no longer, I want to be less bad, less monotonous, less unsafe, less unjust. It's really about a diverse, safe, healthy, and just world with clean air, clean water, clean soil, clean energy.
Together we are fighting to preserve our fragile climate from irreversible damage and devastation of unthinkable proportions.
If we think about the original Industrial Revolution, it was an energy revolution. I like to think of it as a kind of bookending of a period in human history during which we used fossil fuels, and it worked very well for us for a long time. But now we have to bring that to an end. We have energy technologies that can power our civilization: solar, wind, biomass. So then the question is, well, how do we get grid integration? Maybe the wind is blowing in Denmark, the sun is shining in Germany, and now you can move that electricity through an integrated grid. You can supply energy to everyone who needs it, and you can supply energy at all times.
Walking around, you do see different stuff as far as like the body marriage line. They use a lot of things that help them lift up and move things to the car. You just sit there and, you know, program something, and it has its own set mind to go ahead and do everything. And then as humans, we just come in and take the extra step to help the technology.
It's not the cure-all for everything. There's definitely a lot of things where people perform the operation better, but certainly for the right applications, robotics are a huge improvement for the process.
The projection of 5 million jobs lost by 2020 to technology is serious, but it's not the main question. Construction, manufacturing, services, public health and education, these industries will still exist. The main question is, what will be the future of work? How will we define work? How will we share the wealth?
From the viewpoint of the labor or jobs, now we really need new education or new training.
We're working with a World in Motion and FIRST Robotics, trying to encourage students from 3rd grade all the way up through the end of high school. We had students make sailboats, and then we had them race them, and so they could see how quickly they could move. And they immediately went back and started to say, oh, I saw what happened, I'm going to go change this or that. And that was 3rd graders.
I just given a prize to a kid of 18 years old that has discovered something really very, very unique. Came up with how to get better productivity and better yields for seeds of corn. And so he basically came with the idea that if you would perforate these seeds, you would get more food. And you think about it and say, but he didn't go to university. So how does he get all that knowledge? And he told me, I mean, I've been watching YouTube since the age of 12, and I'm so interested that I've seen everything about it. I've read everything about it. The world is really open to learning. The thing is, how do you give the incentive to your kids to do that?
It's this ability of digital technology to change outcomes, to truly empower people all over the world that can create a more equitable growth, because I think the world needs that.
Fourth Industrial Revolution has the potential to make inequalities visible and to make them less acceptable in the future, and hopefully to gather and garner political support to take the necessary decision to reduce the gap.
Humans have always been using tools, but because of the recent advances in technology, we're beginning to have machines that can augment us in all sorts of interesting ways.
I was the first person in the world to be able to voluntarily move my legs while stepping in a robot by exciting the nervous system using electrical stimulators directly onto the spine. We believe that a cure will be possible if enough of the right people have the will to fast-track a cure for paralysis.
We take two things from the patient. First, we take a three-dimensional X-ray and we extract the three-dimensional data out of that so we can make a perfectly shaped puzzle piece. And then we also take a sample of fat tissue from the patient so that we can extract the stem cells out of those. And we use those stem cells with this three-dimensional scaffold that we fabricate, and after 3 weeks we have a piece of living bone that's ready for implantation.
Being able to use genome editing to understand the genetic changes that lead to cancer, and technologies like drug delivery, getting molecules into particular types of cells. There's a lot of excitement about being able to move much more quickly on this disease.
One of the things that I think is so essential to free and open societies is freedom of thought. And up until now, the conversation we've been having is around freedom of speech. Once we can access people's thoughts and access people's emotion, we have to create a space that enables people to think freely, to think divergent thoughts, to think creative thoughts. And in a society where people fear having those thoughts, the likelihood of being able to enjoy progress is significantly diminished.
We need to take responsibility at every level of society, from the individual and the personal to the institutional to the global, to adapt to these technological challenges and changes which are redefining what it means to be human, what it means to work, what it means to be completely embedded in this world.
People always ask me if I'm an optimist or a pessimist. The technology exists, but how do we get it and implement it at the scale we need at a price that people around the world can afford?
Even though we have everyday problems we have to solve, we have to find a way to lay the foundations for the innovations of tomorrow.
Adrian, wake up. The video is down. Go wake up.
Guys, quiet. We have to listen to Stephen's presentation next about the society.
Sorry, miss. Good afternoon, Ms. Lokyang and classmates. Today I'm going to talk about the Fourth Industrial Revolution and its effects in our society. So first, scientific advancement, commercialization, and diffusion of innovations are social processes. These social processes are being unraveled as humans develop, exchange ideas, interests, and social norms. It is hard to fully understand the full societal impact of technology system because of many intertwined components that comprise our society. So the effects of the Fourth Industrial Revolution in our community and inequality and the middle class. So for community, these are the most important drivers of change in our society. And online digital media creates substantial benefits, and it provides opportunities for individuals to have a voice. Basically, we can use social media sites to say anything, or we can send anyone a message. It can be one-on-one or one-to-many. But it can also be used by particular communities with harmful intentions to spread propaganda. So what we read, share, and see in the context of social media can shape our political and civic decisions. For inequality and the middle class, on the other hand, so robots and algorithms are now the new substitute for labor. This made a big impact in our society since people are losing their jobs and they have a limited range of skill sets that is not helpful in our developing world. So winners will be those who are able to participate fully and adapt an innovation-driven ecosystem, rather than those who can only offer low-skilled labor. Next, inequality within most societies is rising. So for inequality and the middle class, people who do not have the ability to learn or adapt to the new technologies, technological advancement, have this disadvantage to people who are adapting and can participate fully in the innovation-driven ecosystem. So that's it for my presentation, and now I will give the floor to Raven to explain the other parts of the topic. Thank you.
I have a question. How do societies absorb and accommodate the new modernity while still embracing the nourishing aspects of our traditional value system? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. So according to Manuel Castel, Professor of Communication Technology and Society, people feel the depth of the change, but they are often overwhelmed by it. Most of the countries are having a hard time to accommodate new modernity because they ignore its effects. So we should not be overwhelmed because of ignorance, since many diverse communities develop by relating to one another.
Hello, miss. I'm sorry I'm late. May I present my topic po? Individual. Technology has enabled us to do things easier, faster, and more efficient ways. Technology is created by us to make our work easier and more convenient. This saves time and energy. But an increasing segregation in society may be witnessed due to people who embrace change versus those who resist it. As we know, there are people who would rather stick to tradition rather than pursue progress and reform. Identity, morality, and ethics. Biotechnology and artificial intelligence are redefining what it means to be human. Biotechnology and AI are scientific advancements that closely mimics the human intelligence. As intended, of course. Gaining knowledge and exploring new discoveries in these fields progress our focus and commitment to having an ongoing moral and ethical discussion is critical. The fact that scientific advancements such as biotechnology and AI, man-made materials, are redefining the definition of being a human can really cause issues or problems in terms of moral and in ethics. The fourth industrial revolution is the empowering potential catalyzed by fusion of new technologies. Human connection. The fourth industrial revolution deepens our collective relationships with technology, but this may affect our social skills and ability to emphasize in a negative way. According to MIT's Sherry Turkle, 44% of teenagers are always using their phones. Being always connected can deprive us of having time to pause, reflect, and engage in conversations without being aided by technology. Managing public and private information. Humans routinely use technology to do things easier and faster without having any privacy. The internet can be an unprecedented tool of liberation, democratization, and mass surveillance. Humans should understand and analyze technology that are thrown at us to enhance and not damage the fourth industrial revolution. As we all know, Technology has been helping our society flourish, making life easier and more convenient, but if improperly used and abused like everything else, it can become a hindrance in our lives.
The floor is now open for questions if anyone wants to ask Raven something about her report.
Question. So, would you trade privacy for convenience?
I would not trade my privacy for convenience because in this scenario, convenience can be associated or is almost always associated with the commercial market. And in business, what's convenient to them can be inconvenient to me or vice versa, especially when my private information is at stake. So I'd rather much prioritize my safety and stay secured and stable.
I have a question as well. In our new digital age, do you think it's difficult to step back? Is it impossible?
I would say that it is difficult to step back in this new digital age. To step back for me means to withdraw from a situation, to reflect or think. And it is especially hard, especially nowadays, that companies are doing an excellent job making technology or the things that are made for technology more addictive. And most humans are in love with achieving things in a simple manner. But I would disagree that it is impossible to withdraw or step back, rather.
I have a question too. Would you consult an AI-driven robot doctor with a perfect or near perfect diagnosis success rate, or stick with a human physician with an assuring bedside manner who has known you for years?
I would rather stick with a human physician with an assuring bedside manner who has known me for years. Because one thing we both have in common is that we are both humans. And a human is capable of understanding and independently deciding compared to a robot who is made up of commands or instructions and cannot think of actions to do at the moment or in the moment.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Francine Loakian,
And I'm Adrian Ang.
and today we will be discussing about the way forward.
So, the way forward talks about how the fourth industrial revolution may be a driving disruption. However, the challenges that it presents are our own making. So, it's saying that it's in our power to address and enact changes and policies so we can flourish and adapt into the new environment, which is rapidly advancing due to technology. And it is saying we can only flourish and adapt if we use the four different types of intelligence.
So, what is the first intelligence? The first intelligence is contextual intelligence, which is the mind. From what I understand from the ARM, contextual intelligence is basically willingness to adapt and integrate new ideas in one's life. And to develop contextual intelligence, we must understand how important it is to be more connected with the world and to be more inclusive, which means that we should be more in touch with diversity and be more open minded about the different ideas coming from people with different social backgrounds. For example, it is mentioned in the ARM that only by bringing together and working in collaboration with leaders from businesses, government, civil society, faith, academia, and the young generation that it becomes possible to obtain a holistic perspective of what is going on. And having this is critical to be able to develop ideas and a solution that will result to a sustainable change. So to simplify what contextual intelligence is and the changes it can give rise to, It means that it is better to be more open to new ideas, especially since the world is ever changing and nothing is truly fixed. So old type of thinking will hold us back from progressing to a better community and can increase inequality among us. So our approach to the challenges of the fourth industrial revolution should be flexible, adaptive, and always integrating the ideas of other people. Doing this can expand our own knowledge, thus allowing us to make decisions that will benefit the majority. Without integrating this in our lives, we would have a harder time coping with the digital age. Thank you. Go.
Okay na?
Mhm.
Okay. So the second is inspired intelligence, the soul. It is the continuous search for meaning and purpose. It focuses on wanting a joint dream for a good community that humanity can strive in. That we have a common purpose to progress towards a life which is good for all of us. So unless everyone has the same dream of a good community with good moral values, the full benefits of the fourth industrial revolution cannot be reaped. However, to be able to achieve this, trust is needed. With trust, people would be more engaged and be more participative during teamwork, which is the goal of inspired intelligence. Collaborative innovation. As said by the ARM, trust can only be earned and maintained if the decision makers are embedded within a community and the decisions made are always in common interest and not in the pursuit of individual objectives.
The next is emotional intelligence, which is called the heart. From what I understand from the ARM, emotional intelligence is stepping up to be a leader and being more creative on how to advocate for a change. Emotional intelligence is being self-aware, self-regulated, motivated, and having empathy and social skills. Having these qualities will allow one to be more agile and resilient, which are good traits, especially since we need to cope with the disruptions of the fourth industrial revolution. Basically, emotional intelligence has the capacity to end classism and build a society in which people are able to share their own ideologies and flourish.
Lastly, physical intelligence, the body, which is the framework of the other intelligences. It involves caring for oneself like personal health and well-being. This is an important factor since caring for oneself will help us remain calm during disruptions. Plus, according to epigenetics, it shows how important sleep, nutrition, and exercise is in our lives, and doing such can impact a positive outlook on life and affect our feelings. And this directly affects our ability to succeed. It is also mentioned in the ARM that a good leader requires good nerves to effectively address the many simultaneous and complex challenges that we face, and this will be very important when tackling the fourth industrial revolution. That is the end of our report.
Thank you for listening.
I have a question. Oh wait, okay, you go ahead, Raven.
Okay. Why is trust important in inspired intelligence?
So trust is needed because the goal of inspired intelligence is for people to be more engaged and be more participative during teamworks. And to achieve this, trust is needed.
Okay, to end our class, I will conclude everything that has been said in the reports. So basically, the fourth industrial revolution is how we should be an open-minded community so we can use the advancement of technology for the better of the society politically, ethically, and economically. And the fourth industrial revolution is in our hands, so it will end up the way we want it to in how we adapt to change. That's it for today. Thank you, Cass.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for.
Next part of the presentation, we will be taking a short quiz to test your knowledge about the topic. What are the three social processes that are being unraveled as humans develop, exchange ideas, and trust in social norms? The answer is scientific advancements, commercialization, and the diffusion of innovation. True or false? According to MIT's Sherry Turk, 70% of teenagers are always using their phones. The answer is false. True or false? The fourth industrial revolution deepens our collective relationship with technology. The answer is true. What are the four types of intelligence? Contextual, inspired, emotional, and physical intelligence. Which intelligence talks about the continuous search for meaning and purpose? The answer is inspired intelligence.